Bright suns and rising moons, fellow droids. Welcome to the Not the Droids podcast. I'm Danny.
And I'm Mayuri, and today we'll be talking about episode 3 of Andor titled Reckoning. When did it release?
Reckoning released along with episodes 1 and 2 on September 21st, 2022. I'm going to say it. I like it but much better, and I understand why they released it as a three-part.
Yeah, I was just like watching this one, and I was like, oh man, they're
Like, I get
finally
it.
cooking. I get why people love this show. Um, it was infinitely more interesting.
Yes.
I like that we finally, because we were trying to figure out like how Cassian got off of his planet,
Plan
and
and how him and his sister got separated.
yeah, so I mean, at this point, I'm assuming that he knows she's alive and that's why he's looking for her, and not just that they got separated and now that he's old enough that he's been looking for her ever since.
Hmm.
I I wonder if we'll get more flashbacks of the way that he grew up and like parts with
Yeah.
his sister.
I'm wondering if
Um,
we will get a flashback of her and how she ended up what, because I'm assuming she's
yeah.
not on this planet anymore because he would have gone there first.
Well, but that's, I assumed that he went to the planet to see, but I also wonder if what they thought was going to happen happened, which is like when the Empire comes
Hmm.
to find their ships or the Republic or whatever, um, and they find everybody dead, that they kind of like hunt down whoever's left on the planet because they're
Yeah,
gonna
but if they
find the
find a village
darks.
of children, they might be like, we could just train them.
That's why I'm like, I wonder if they took them all
Yeah,
because they were all young enough.
yeah,
And that's how he knows that she's somewhere.
yeah.
So I don't know. I It was really interesting in the flashback scenes that when he like sees his reflection, I feel like maybe for the first time, maybe not for the
It felt
first
like for the
time.
first time.
And then he just like went nuts.
Yeah, he did not want
Mhm.
to see himself in anything.
And that's where I was just like, I don't really understand that, but I like how they're placing the flashbacks in this show. It really moves the narrative forward in a really cool way because like this episode they kind of went back and forth a lot
Hmm.
more um than other episodes. But yeah.
But we do find out he has an Imperial prison record.
Did we find that out? Is that what they were
Yes,
talking about in the
because when they
beginning?
were speaking, they were asking, what is this planet called? Kalmari? He's Kalmari, right? So
Yeah,
the guy was speaking with Bix.
Kanari. Yeah.
Kalmari. So the guy was speaking with Bix and was saying that they're looking for a Canary. Who else knew? On his records, it says he was from Felix, Ferris,
Not Ferris. I think like
Ferrex.
Felix or
It's
Ferrix.
Ferrex. Both of them mashed together.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, his Imperial prison record says he's from Ferrex.
Oh.
So we know he has a record.
Yeah, maybe that's where the picture is from.
That's where I'm like, I think that's where the photo is from.
It must be like his
Because
mugshot.
later on we're like, oh, they have his name. It's not just this.
Yeah.
They knew his name when they were on that planet.
Yeah. So, oh, that's interesting. But like the moment that Tim gave himself away as the person that reported him, because also I feel like on this planet specifically, that is a huge no-no,
Yeah,
right? Like it seems like they look
they're in a
after
free
their
trade
own,
planet. Yeah,
even if they hate each other. And so the fact that he actually reported that they found, like they
yeah.
know someone, that is,
My note on that it just says, "Damn Tim."
yeah. I mean, I was cursing him and then I kind of felt bad about it later because I was like, yeah, in the worst way too. Like he didn't even try. Like I feel like he trusted the security people, and I was like, why?
I don't think he trusted the security people. I think he didn't report it as a rule thing. He reported it because he didn't like Cassian and
Yeah,
his
well, he was
friendship with her.
jealous.
That's why when like um they were talking with Bix and Bix was like going, he was like, don't like he was like, no, don't, they'll be fine, they'll be fine. But I think his response wasn't because he thought they wouldn't do anything, but they saw her being injured.
Yeah.
And I think that's what drove him, not that he thought that the guards wouldn't do anything.
Well, I guess I
I don't think,
more was just kind of like, they're pointing guns at you.
yeah.
You're not, this is, I will always be like, you're not even like, you're like the Rickon Stark here. Like, you're just going to go straight down the stairs and think that they're not going to try and shoot you.
Yeah, and it seemed like they were just kind of like they don't usually shoot, and then the guy that shot, they were just like, "What did you do? Like,
They
give
like
me
took
your
his
weapon,
gun.
go back to your pod."
But yeah, no, I
We
did
did
kind of
get to
feel bad for him.
see a young, very clean.
BMO. B. He was very clean. That's where I was like, oh, this
I
is
was like, "Ooh,
going to.
you have lived a life, B. You have
Um,
lived a life."
he was so clean. And I kind of love how they did that like moment that they were just there to scavenge a ship that went down.
Hmm.
That they must have heard the Mayday or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So that's the only reason they came to that planet to check out the ship and like forage it for parts. But he really is nice and shiny and red.
Yeah.
Um,
And then we
but yeah,
have Marva. And you ever watch The Parent Trap?
yes.
All I ever think about is when I hear Marva's name is Marva's. Um, and Clem was the guy that was with her.
Oh man. Yeah, Clem is there. I like that he is like the voice of reason when
Yeah.
she's like, yes, let's kidnap this boy.
Who
And he's
doesn't
like,
speak English, and BMO can't even translate him.
I know, he's just like, he has his own people here.
Yeah.
Like, but like she's like, I know the like I know them. They're going to kill him when they find him here because they're gonna put together that his weapon is the same
Yeah.
weapon that killed the officer. So like it was interesting to see that like she's essentially his mom by default. Like she chooses to raise him. Um, but no, I feel like that's why he's always just like so, I guess, like indebted, beholden to her. She raised him. Um, she taught him the trade essentially,
Yeah.
right? Because I honestly did not peg her as a scavenger. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm still just like, oh, she's a little old lady. But I didn't like think
The,
about that. Like,
her younger life or how she came into his life, because obviously
yeah,
that's not, we knew.
but yeah. So I mean, it'll be interesting to get flashbacks of him growing up. I'm hoping that we do that because I'm sure getting. I mean, it's Star Wars, right? Like, so English, getting him to speak English might not be as hard.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, he
but
was
yeah,
young. You put him around it, he'll learn.
yeah, he'll learn. So I enjoy that. Like they keep going back to his friend who like clearly knows that he's in trouble, the one who was like providing a cover for him. And
Yes.
I love that Cassian like went and was like, "Listen, I'm going to have money. I'm going to leave it with Marva. I got to go, but I will pay you back. Um before I go, she'll have the
Yeah.
money." And
Yeah,
so
your
I'm
money
just
will be
like,
in hand. You'll be fine.
and like they are really good friends because like I feel like he is the one that we see later that the ship is like strapped down to something, and I feel like he's the one who did that personally.
I feel like the whole planet was like, we have a system. When things like this happen,
Well, but that's why I
we
was like
shut it down.
I was so like whatever about Tim because I was just like if this is the culture on this planet, like they don't really respect authority.
Yeah.
Um, they actively try and intimidate them with the bell ringing, which is hilarious. Um, like the fact that he reported Cassian is just because he's a jealous douche.
Yeah. Which means
But
I
I did
wonder if
like,
we are going to get more of Bix.
I think we are
My thought
because like
process this whole episode was I could cosplay Bix. I can pull that off.
I love that that's where you went.
I
I was
hope so.
just I was just like, why does she run around looking so sus? She got herself caught. She didn't have
Yeah,
to
she's
look
not
like
very
that.
stealthy for someone that like sets up deals regularly.
I wonder too if she knew that the guy, what was his name? Rael? Rael? I don't know if they actually say his name in the show yet.
Rael, Luthen Rael,
Yeah, I don't
Stellan
know.
Skarsgård. I have the list of characters up.
Yeah, I'm
Perfect.
looking at the name and I'm like, I don't know. But I don't know that she necessarily knew that he came here not for the trade,
But for
but
him. Yeah, I think
for
she thinks that he
Cassian.
was just here for the actual
Yeah.
trade, whereas he realized he could get something more out of it.
Well, because like the way he says it, he's just like, I know that you guys have a deal to get parts. But this is something different. You can't just acquire this by bribing people. This requires finesse. So
Hmm.
how do you have it? And I love how like he's just like you just walk in with like as if you belong there. And I feel like that's what he assumed because like
That is a
Ahsoka,
thing that works. Is when you walk with purpose. I'm not saying
oh,
this.
I walk with purpose.
I this is off topic. I used to play this game, so I did theater in college, but I was technical theater. So most people, most of like the younger people, or like the volunteers we got from other classes that would get extra credit to be ushers, did not know me. And so we would play this game. We had this like arch, the second level like archway, so you could all see down, and my friends would like stand up there, and we would play who would stop me from going into the theater if I looked like I knew what I was doing. So it does work because
Yeah.
very rarely, and no, nobody would stop me. And if someone like looked like they were gonna stop me, I would just like show them a whole ring of keys, and that would still get me in. I didn't have like any verification on me. I wore black clothing and shook some keys, and they're like, "She seems legit."
Well, so it's funny because sometimes I think about like the age before technology was everywhere.
Mhm.
You could get away with so many things if you just like walked with
If you
purpose
look
as
like
you
you knew what you were
belong.
doing.
So that's where it's just like because like I see like even in con man movies,
Yeah.
the way they go about it is so differently. Like the you wouldn't get by with just the basics of like
Yeah.
getting a uniform and like
Yeah. Well,
lifting
and they
people.
like, and he said, he's like, these people are so cocky, they do not think someone like me could get into their stuff.
Yeah. So that is where I'm just like, I feel like this is technically his recruitment, right?
I
Because
think
like
it is.
we know from Rogue One that he's part of the Resistance, right?
We haven't watched Rogue One yet. What are you talking about? We have
Okay,
no idea.
I've seen Rogue One before. Okay, so
We talked about in episode one that Andor is about the building of the Resistance, so it was kind of assumed. But
yeah.
we haven't watched Rogue One yet. We
Oh,
both have seen it, but
I know.
for
My bad, my
context
bad.
of our episode, we have not watched it.
Yeah, for the context of this. Okay. But like I feel like it's very clear like that's what he's recruiting him
Yeah.
for, not for like a bigger
Well,
job
because
or a team.
he even says that he's like I forget how he phrased it towards the end where he's like essentially like, do you want to do something that makes a difference?
I think it was when the full like gun was on his
Yeah.
face where he was like, "Don't you ever want to get back at them?" Like and
Yeah.
actually make it matter
Yeah.
in a way that matters, I think is what he said. And
Yeah.
so that's where I was just like, "Oh, this is his recruitment pitch."
Yeah.
Um because like clearly Cassian's got enough skill to sneak aboard and steal a high value item. So, um, I do like that he's giving him lessons. And the thing that gives away Cassian is like the actual comms when he messages B. And I was like, oh no, what
Mhm.
terrible timing.
B,
They
turn
were,
off your comms.
I know. Oh, the B was so scared. Um, when Marva was like, they can't do this to you, like we're in our own home.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there are rules that they're supposed to follow. Um, but yeah, no. I was just like, of course the comms gave him away because he was just like still trying to do it his way. But I like how he was just like, oh, that's so dumb. Like you never carry comms.
Yeah.
That's how they get you.
If if it isn't your own thing, do not.
Yeah, do not carry it. I don't know. This episode was
Good.
it was good. And it was good in like a subtle way. So like watching the vice commander or whatever he is throughout this whole episode
Mm.
was essentially like it just got progressively worse. Do you remember that feeling when either at work or at home when you were a kid, like you did something wrong, but it was still a small something.
Hmm.
And then it got worse and worse and worse. And you were just like, I am never going to recover from this problem.
Yeah.
And I feel like you see that in his face as time goes on. Like he goes there and he thinks it's one guy. Like we have plenty of people. It's one guy. We brought the people because the planet is a little
Yeah.
against authority. But I feel like he we've talked about that we think he's never really been on an off-world mission because as he's going on too like he has all the issues that like a first timer would have, right? Like
Yes.
he seems unsettled by the pods and then just like everything that they're doing like he feels
Also, the like, there's two guys. Like, where'd this other guy come from? We're like, dude, you're on like his planet. Like, what did you really think he was just
obviously.
gonna be there without anyone? But yes, the guy he was with is not like his was planned, but still, like,
But yeah, but that's where I like that of all the officers they snuck up on, it was him
yeah,
who was like I know that he was watching out, but I feel like he was essentially hiding. And
yeah,
like he was shooting at people in their own place because they like scared him. And I was just like, what is this dude? Like, why is he here? What is he trying to
Who
prove?
who certified him for like a live mission and not just research?
I feel like he would be a good button pusher. And that's it. That is it. But I don't know. The escape idea was particularly um inspired
Mhm.
because I was just like, why would he choose the real terrible speeder? And I was like, he wouldn't. There were so many nice the speeder bikes. I was like, he wouldn't choose the really clunky one because it's so obvious. So I was like, oh, they did. They're gonna blow stuff up. And like the moment that it blows up and this guy is just staring and he's like, this started with two guys who were, hassling someone, not doing their jobs properly.
Mhm.
And now how many people and resources have been expended and they failed?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm just like that at the end, the shock that he goes into is really just him being like, how am I going to explain this to the person above me who told me to
To not
forget
do
it?
this.
And that's where I was just like, boo boo, like, you should retire.
Yep, you're How
But
you
like maybe
explain this and get away with it? Like, you better have some Nepo baby powers to like survive this.
I think I'm curious to see what kind of a Nepo baby he is. Like how much pull does he actually have? But yeah. No.
So I believe we will be off planet the next episode.
I think we have to, though I do want to see what happens with Bix, right? Because I do
I
think
I
that she's
want
gonna
Bix to
stay.
continue in the story somehow. I just don't know how that's going to happen because I need more of her to be in the series so that I have reason to cosplay her.
I think she'll be in it because they've been doing all of this setup for her character.
Yeah.
And I feel like with like Tim being murdered, like she's gonna be mad, right? And so
Yeah.
like what does she have left on this planet? I guess. I don't know. Cause like she's also gonna feel guilty that like he
Mhm.
died for like trying to get to her. I don't know. I'm excited to see what I assume is going to be a training montage of how to be a spy. I don't know. What
I
are
don't
they
know if we're
like?
going to get that. I don't think we're getting a training montage. Wait, this is our first three set. These were all released
Yeah.
together for Disney Plus. We have since found out that season 2 is going to essentially release this way in sets of 3 episodes that span like 5-year gaps that will lead up to Rogue One.
Yeah.
So
Which is going to
as
be interesting.
it's going to be very interesting. So as a podcast, we are also moving Rogue One to the end of this watch so that it is all one set rather
Like
than
a
breaking
full
it up and
story.
watching Rogue One in order. Now, when we come up to that order and where it would occur naturally, we'll make note of that and let our listeners
Yeah.
know. But we will be following that system and moving that movie up to close out Andor because this is the last season of Andor.
Yeah, that's why like I really do you asked and I felt like we needed that, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
everything I've heard about like from the press of the new season, like it just makes the most sense to just like seamlessly end the
Yes.
storyline.
It felt like keeping with Andor and the story.
But yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens. I feel like I'm not, I know where we go next, but I don't know where we go next. Like I know we go off planet, but I'm like,
I'm trying to think,
are we gonna cover her sister? Are we gonna cover his sister? Are we gonna cover Bix? How does BMO get off the planet?
does he get off
There is too much love for him to only
for
be
him
in
to
three
only be in
episodes.
these
There's
episodes?
no way we don't see him in
Well,
season.
but do you think that Marva leaves or she sends B with
But
Bix? Cassian is on the ship with the guy flying off of the planet. They're leaving. That's why we got that like juxtaposed exit scene of when Marva took him off whatchamacallit. Oh God. Canary?
mhm.
It's with this guy taking him away from Ferrix. Because I think that Marva took him from Canary and brought him to Ferrix. Yeah, so that's where I'm just like, they do this montage of all of these people. And I wonder if they pick these people specifically, right? You get Marva and B, she's having so they're having the flashbacks of Cassian leaving because, like, I think he's been with her that whole time.
Yeah,
And, like,
yeah.
he
Oh, and
even
BMO
tells,
looks sad.
yeah, so like everybody looks sad. And that's where it's just like they flash to Bix, who's grieving Tim, and and then they flash to his friend Brasso, the one
Yeah.
who covers for him that he owes money to, who's sad, right? And I think it's because he knows that like Cassian had to leave. He did not get his money back. Um, but I just
Cassian will
like
make it right.
he'll make it right, but that's where it's just like, and then you got the um the like vice commandant or whatever Karn who's shell shocked. So I'm like, I wonder if they flash to those people specifically because we're going to keep seeing them in the
I think
story.
so. I think these are the stories we're going to see. I just, there's so much love for B that I don't think it's just because of 3 episodes.
But that's where I was
Because
like,
we honestly haven't seen enough. Now, granted, I love Dio, who is like barely in the movie, but I just feel like there's more to be to play out in this story.
yeah, but I don't know. There's a chance I feel that like if Bix leaves the planet with like I wonder if Bix and Brasso and B are going to leave the planet together to find Cassian because like Bix knows how to contact
Yes.
that guy, right? So she knows how to get a hold of him somehow to
I
be
don't
like,
see their reasoning for hunting him down, though.
well, I wouldn't call it
It's not
hunting him
hunting, but I don't know
down.
if there's like a necessity for him to.
I don't know. Maybe trying to figure out, or maybe they figure out that he's joining the, like, if he's going to join the resistance later on and they realize it and they want to join too. Like, or if he taps back, like, if he
Yeah.
contacts them to be like, hey, like,
No, I
I don't
get
know.
it. Well,
So like that's where I'm like I feel like they were focusing on them in this episode over and over again.
hmm
So I feel like they must be our kind of current cast of
yeah.
characters.
Well, you know when we'll find out? The next episode. And until then, we're not the droids you're looking for.
But we're the droids you're gonna get.